What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. It is time to give you my 2024 Big Ten football predictions for the upcoming 2024 college football season. Yesterday we did the SEC. If you have not seen that video, be sure to go back and check it out. Again, we're giving you my standings based off of my team predictions for every single Power 4 team. And we're going to show you what the standings look like based on my predictions for every single team in the Big Ten. We're doing the Big 10 today, and then of course we'll do the Big 12 tomorrow, and then we'll have the ACC to close things out on Thursday, and I'll give you a conference championship prediction as well at the end of each and every single video. So let's get right into it here with the Big 10 conference. We'll start here from the bottom and work our way to the top, and there is a lot of teams in this conference this year that probably could be wide open, or it could be a dominant conference by both Oregon and Ohio State. But starting at the bottom from 13 to 18, I got Purdue here at the bottom at number 18, finishing 3-9 and 1-8 here in the Big Ten Conference. I think Purdue is going to be a little bit better this year. I mean, obviously it's a second-year head coach, so you do kind of expect them to be better this season and a little bit more competitive. I don't think this team is going to really come close to making it into a bowl game still. They do have a tough schedule in the conference. They also have a very tough non-conference game against Notre Dame. They get that game at home. I do have them losing that game, but I got them beating Oregon State on the road. That's where that's where the second win comes from, and then I do have them getting a win over Northwestern in the conference. So I don't think this team goes winless. Again, I don't think this team is going to be all that terrible. They will be competitive in some of their games, but they just don't really have the roster talent like some of these other teams in the Big Ten. So I got Purdue here at the bottom, finishing again 3-9 and 1-8 here in the conference at number 18. Illinois comes in here at number 17. Not really high on this team. They got a lot of question marks, especially on the defensive side of the football. They lost a ton of guys there on that side of the football from last year. I have them predicting to go 4-8 and 2-7 here in the conference. They do have a tough non-conference game against Kansas in the week 2 of the season. I have them losing that game, even though it's at home here for Illinois. But again, I think this team just has a lot of question marks. Again, I think the offense could be pretty solid for Illinois, but the defense is what I'm really concerned with for the fighting in Illinois. Again, I have them getting a couple wins in the conference and everything. I don't think anybody is going to be really terrible in the Big Ten. If Illinois or Purdue go winless in the conference, I mean, Illinois and Purdue both play each other in the regular season, so one of these teams is going to go winless perhaps in this conference. But again, I think Illinois and Purdue are sitting there at the bottom of the Big Ten this year, again from 17 to 18 and everything. But number 16, Michigan State, USC also at number 15, and then the UCLA here at number 14. I have all these teams going 5-7. Purdue didn't go 5-7 and 3-6 here in the conference. Michigan State, of course, a first-year head coach. We don't really know how good this team is going to be. I mean, the offensive side of the football is what I'm really concerned about the most here for the Spartans. Then you look at the defense for Michigan State. I think that's going to be their strength on this team. On the strength of this team and everything, I think Michigan State will have a pretty solid defense. But this team not going to be enough though to make it to a bowl game. I think they get 3 wins though with their first-year head coach and everything for this Michigan State team. Again, this is a program that's trying to get back in the right direction. It won't be in year 1 though. I think their schedule is really too tough to really make it to a bowl game. But if they can go to a bowl game in their first year, that would definitely be a really good season here for this Michigan State team. And the future would definitely be pretty bright here for the Spartans as well. But again, I got this team finishing 5-7 and then 3-6 here in the conference, and then USC comes in here at 5-7 as well. Look, I have nothing against USC. I think this is going to be a very talented team. You look at the offense, of course, they're going to be very explosive on that side of the football. Of course, Caleb Williams is now gone. Miller Moss takes over at quarterback. So we'll see how good he's going to be. I don't think he's a Heisman candidate, but we'll see how good he's going to be on this Trojan offense. And then defensively, that's a concern that I have here for USC. And they also have a very tough schedule. That's the most concerned about. That's the reason why you're seeing their record at 5-7. They do have a tough conference schedule, but they got LSU in the non-conference. I do have them losing that game, and they also got Notre Dame, but I got them winning that game. Of course, they play Notre Dame every year. Of course, that's a rivalry game. But again, USC, I have nothing against their roster. Again, it's just because of the schedule, and that's the reason why I have them predicting to go 5-7. And then UCLA here at 5-7 as well. I got the Bruins beating the Trojans in the regular season game and the rivalry game. UCLA, Deshaun Foster now takes over down there at UCLA. We'll see what the future looks like here for the Bruins. I think, offensively and defensively, they still got some playmakers on this roster, but they still had a lot of roster turnover when Chip Kelly, of course, left this UCLA program. But again, this is still a really good UCLA team, so they probably could still make it to a bowl game, but just like USC, they also have a pretty tough non-conference game against LSU on the road. If they can win that game, they can probably go on to have a really good season the rest of the way, but if they don't win that game, then they could probably just miss out on the bowl game and go like 5-7, how like I'm predicting it. So I got UCLA here at number 14, and then I got Northwestern here at number 13, predicting to go to a bowl game at 6-6 and then 3-6 here in the conference. Coming off a very big surprising year last year. Was last year just a fluke for Northwestern? I don't really think so. I think this is going to be a really well-coached team in the future. You look at the offense, though, they lost quite a bit of production from last year, but they could be pretty solid still on that side of the football. And then defense, I think, is where they're going to be pretty dominant. I have a lot of production coming back on the defensive side of the football, so they could be sitting in that top 5 category with the top 5 defenses, in the Big Ten and everything. So I got Northwestern here. Again, predicting to go 6-6 and 3-6 here in the conference at number 13. All right, let's move on from 7 through 12 now. I got Washington and Wisconsin both predicting to go 6-6, although Washington at 3-6 in the conference, and then 4-5 for the Badgers in the conference as well. Definitely going to be a very big step back for Washington. Of course, first year in the Big Ten and everything. New head coach, obviously, and a lot of roster turnover from last year. Will Rogers, though, comes in, the transfer quarterback from Mississippi State. We'll see how good he's going to fit into the system here for Washington, but I just don't think this Washington team is going to be the same as the team as they were from last year. They're not going to be the same explosive offense. Yes, Will Rogers has a lot of experience at the quarterback position, but I just don't think Washington's going to really be up to that level like they were from last year. And definitely they don't have the same explosive offense as they did from last year as well. So again, I got Washington, though, still going to a bowl game at 6-6 and getting 3 wins in their first year in the Big Ten. And then Wisconsin here, just like USC, I have nothing against this team. I think this is going to be a very talented roster and everything, but their schedule is pretty tough. They got to play some of the top teams in the Big Ten this year in the conference schedule. I believe they got to play Penn State and also Oregon in both of those games. Even though I have Wisconsin beating Oregon in that regular season matchup and upsetting perhaps Penn State as well. I'm not really sure if I picked Wisconsin to win that game or not, but this is going to be a very talented team. Again, their schedule is really the reason why they're, just predicted to go 6-6. And also, they have a non-conference game against Alabama. They get that game at home, but I think Wisconsin probably just comes up short in that one. So I got Wisconsin here at number 11. Indiana at 7-5 at number 10 and 4-5 here in the conference. I've been saying all off season long, I think this Indiana team is definitely underrated. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people this year, and I'm predicting them to win, predicting them to win 7 games this year, and they have a schedule that really sets up nicely for them. This is really the reason why I think Indiana is going to be really good, is just because of the schedule. Now, they do play Ohio State and Michigan on the schedule and everything, but that doesn't really even matter. They don't play Oregon, they don't play Penn State on that schedule as of right now and everything. So again, Indiana I think is going to surprise a lot of people this year. Again, they are predicted to go 7-5, and then Maryland comes in here at number 9. This won't be the same Maryland team that we've seen over the course of the years, but I still have this team going to a bowl game at least, predicting to go 7-5 and then 5-4 here in the conference. Maryland will be pretty solid on the offensive side of the football, but again, the defense is what you're really concerned about for the Terrapins. But either way, I got this team going to a bowl game and going 7-5 at number 9 here on these standings. Minnesota's another team that's going to be very consistent this year. I think Minnesota will definitely turn things around after a really rough season last year. Again, if you count their regular season, record from last year was 5-7, but they got invited to a bowl game. I have them going 8-4 and then 5-4 here in the conference. I think this will be a pretty decent team on both sides of the football, so they should be pretty decent, and they should be right around 6, 7, 8 wins, maybe even 9 wins in that range for Minnesota. So I got the Golden Gophers here at number 8, and then Rutgers comes in here at number 7, predicting to go 7-5 and then 5-4 here in the conference. I think Rutgers and Indiana Indiana are going to be two teams that are going to be definitely surprising a lot of people this year. Of course, Rutgers was definitely a very big surprise last year, and this program seems like it's heading in the right direction. I do have some concerns about the quarterback position for the Scarlet Knights, but offensively they should be pretty solid. Not the same offensive team as they were from last year, but defensively they should be pretty good on that side of the football as well. So I got Rutgers here at number 7, predicting to go 7-5 and then 5-4 here in the conference. So those are my standings from 7 through 12. Let's now go on to the top 6. I got Nebraska here at number 6, predicting to go 8-4 and 5-4 here in the conference. Matt Rhule's second year as the Nebraska head coach. Nebraska does play a tough non-conference game against Colorado, even though I do have them winning that game. I think it still will be a close game. And remember, Nebraska has lost a lot of close games over the last few years now. Could this finally be the year that they finally get to a bowl game and also definitely have like a really big season here and be a dark horse team in the Big Ten as well? Maybe this is their year. You never know. Nebraska, though, can definitely have a really tough season. I mean, it seems like every year when you're really high on Nebraska, they just don't live up to those expectations. I mean, you're not high on them, they usually do good. So I think Nebraska will definitely have a turnaround of a season. Again, I think Matt Rhule is going to do a really good job. And this team has a lot of production coming back on both sides of the football. They have like the third most returning production in the country. So I got Nebraska here at number 6. And then Iowa and Penn State both come in here at 9-3 and then 6-3 here in the conference. I mean, obviously the concern for Iowa is definitely the offensive side of the football. They were really bad on offense. Maybe the offense is a little bit better with a new offensive coordinator, but the defense should overall be pretty dominant. This could be one of the top 5 defenses like they were from last year. There was a lot of really good defenses last year in the Big Ten, but I think Iowa was definitely right there in the top 3 with Michigan, Penn State, and Ohio State. But again, Iowa, the offense definitely has to improve a little bit this year in order to really be a Big Ten, top contender and also be a dark horse contender as well. But I got this team going 9-3, then 6-3 in the conference. Penn State at number 4, Drew Aller returns at quarterback. They got a really good running back duo in the backfield for this Penn State offense. So I think the running game will definitely be the strength of this team on the offensive side of the football. The defense overall should be pretty decent as well, even though they lost quite a bit on the defensive side of the football. But I think this Penn State team is very talented, and they're obviously up there with, the likes of Oregon, Ohio State, and Michigan as a top contender in the Big Ten this year for also the college football playoff. So I got Penn State at 9-3 and then 6-3 in the conference. And then Michigan comes in here at number 3, also predicting to go 9-3 and 7-2 here in the conference. Michigan does have a non-conference game against Texas in week number 2. Of course, that's their big non-conference game coming up this year. And I do have them losing that game. And you're probably wondering, why was it 9-3 instead of 10-2 if they got 2 conference losses and then also, not a third loss in the Big Ten? Well, again, I do have Texas beating Michigan in the regular season matchup, so that's the reason why they're predicted to go 9-3. But this Michigan team, it's definitely going to be a really big step back for them after winning the national championship last year. I still think this is a top 10 team, maybe in a top 15 team type team as well. Donovan Edwards in the backfield, I think could be one of the best running backs in the Big Ten in my opinion. But again, the offense will be pretty young, but I think the defense will definitely, still be really good for this Michigan team. We'll just see how it's going to have to play out here after all the losses that they had from last year. So I got Michigan here at number 3. And then Ohio State and Oregon both come up here at number 1 and number 2. I got Oregon winning the Big Ten regular season title at 11-1 and then 8-1 here in the conference. Their one loss comes to Wisconsin in the regular season. That game, of course, in the month of November. So I don't really expect anybody to go undefeated here in this conference. But I think Oregon and Ohio State are definitely the best teams to probably do that. You look at Ohio State, though, 11-1 and then 8-1 here in the conference. I have them losing to Oregon in the regular season matchup, so that's the reason why you're seeing Oregon ahead of Ohio State and everything. I think both of these teams are pretty even, and they're definitely going to be like the top contenders to probably win the Big Ten this year, and also definitely the top contenders to make the playoff as well. But you look at Ohio State, a lot of transfers coming in. I mean, the offensive side of the football could be very explosive with Chip Kelly calling plays. Will Howard, we'll see how good he is at quarterback, and then Judkins and Henderson, you got 2 running backs that are really good. And the defense overall should be pretty good as it was last year as well. So I got Ohio State here at number 2. And then Oregon, this is going to be a very talented team. Dillon Gabriel, of course, takes over at quarterback. They also brought in a ton of guys in the transfer portal, and they also have a lot of experience coming back. And the defense overall should be pretty dominant, with Dan Lanning being a defensive background head coach. So I got Oregon and Ohio State now meeting for the Big Ten Championship. Let's now go on to that Big Ten Championship game. So again, it's Ohio State versus Oregon as my Big Ten Championship game prediction. It probably could be a rematch here in from the regular season and everything. Both of these teams are very talented. I think both of these teams are definitely like really even. But this time though, if both of these teams meet in the Big Ten Championship, it definitely will be on a neutral field this time. And I think that is going to be a disadvantage for Oregon, because Ohio State will definitely show up in this game after a regular season loss to Oregon and everything. But it's going to be another good matchup. I think it definitely can go either way. You look at going into this game, I think Ohio State definitely has an offensive advantage with Ryan Day calling plays with an offensive background, and then, of course, Chip Kelly calling plays as well. But I think the Ducks have an advantage on the defensive side of the football just because Dan Lanning is a defensive background head coach. And I think it could be a low-scoring type game. I think Oregon will do a lot they can on the offensive side of the football to wear down that Ohio State defense. But again, I think the Buckeyes do step up in this one. They get revenge here on Oregon from from the regular season game. I don't really think this is going to happen in real life, but I'm just predicting it here, a little bit earlier. So I got Ohio State winning the Big Ten Championship here for 2024. Again, I think Ohio State gets revenge on Oregon in the Big Ten Championship, and that will put them in the college football playoff, maybe as the number 2 seed or perhaps number 1 if something were to happen to Georgia or maybe like some other SEC team in that conference. But again, I got Ohio State winning the Big Ten Championship here for 2024. So those are my official 2024 Big Ten football predictions for the upcoming 2024 college football season. So let me guys know what you think about these Big Ten predictions, and also give me your Big Ten predictions and your Big Ten Conference Championship predictions as well down in the comments below. Thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned here for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports Channel.